Hey guys, welcome to my first G2 versus Griffin. We're going to be reviewing both the G2 versus Griffin games, so we're starting out with this one. I mean, no need for intro for either team. A little bit of drama on Griffin's side, I'm sure everyone's heard of, but they overperformed in the second half of groups and they were able to beat G2 twice. Let's figure out how they did it. I mean, starting with the bans as I talked about, the three Korean teams, they have done extremely well with the Renekton first pick and playing around the Renekton in combination with Talia, with Elise. So Renekton Talia, Renekton Elise, all these really powerful duos able to one-shot people by building waves and having over 50 rage and being able to flash W. So starting out with the Renek ban, the Yuumi ban, a little bit interesting because I know Griffin did play a game of Garen Yuumi, but I feel like a team like G2 with so much variety and so much like tools in the bot lane should not have a problem dealing with it, but banning it out.
A win here would secure first place for G2, but it'll be a very tough challenge against a Griffin on form. Let's see what happens.
Thank you very much, Shox, and welcome to what could be our final game of the day, or maybe one more to finish out a best of three between G2 Esports and Griffin. We're already
Elise ban's also a little weird.
The Yuumi, the Pantheon, and the Elise taken off the board.
And I already like what we see there. The Renekton and Elise both banned away from both of them. The Yuumi to block the potential Garen Yuumi from Griffin is...
Galio, that's a Chobi pick. Also, can be a Lihan pick. It doesn't seem like Caps likes playing Galio, so it's more of a sniper ban.
They've shown their propensity to play that bottom lane well. Can't wait for the picks to start coming through.
So Zion
Rakan.
That was the pick, the ban rather that I was looking.
At least Rakan just seems like they're banning out Comfort Champ from Griffin. This gives them Kiana though.
So Kiana's available.
Yes, but so is the Gragas.
Going for Gragas instead.
Actually had a lot of priority, especially towards the end of the LEC playoffs. And it's something that has kind of not been as a higher priority throughout the group stages, but with the Elise ban.
I love Purple Akali. Purple Akali is so powerful. Akali can go mid, fine versus any kind of matchup, swap it last pick to top, get a really good counter pick in mid lane. I just think Akali as a champion is still really broken and just an insane pick from Purple in the first rotation. Because it's really hard to counter her in both lanes, and when you're countering her in both lanes and then she ends up going mid, like all the mid counters just don't feel that great. The big one was Sylas, and it seems like people don't think Sylas is that strong and people are staying away from Sylas. So yeah, what are you supposed to do versus Akali early? Like when you see Akali early in the draft, like what's the most ideal situation?
It definitely makes Gragas a more favorable option.
And Gragas and Lee Sin, the two most picked junglers in the tournament so far, so... And a comfort pick for Jankos as well. Have to see what he can do with it as Griffin debate their options.
You've also got to remember the Talia for Talia.
I'll try to now call red side purple side. It's a habit I have because it used to be blue side purple side before they changed to blue and red.
Good matchup into the Gragas jungle, especially in the early game.
So many questions left for this draft phase. I loved the stat we had between Chovy and Caps there. 1 and 2 in KDA in the whole group stage. 1 and 2 in solo kills in the whole group stage. And that's a Kiana jungle or solo lane. We don't know where it's going to go yet.
Flexibility for that pick, and I am nervous because Kiana, we've seen a couple different variations. We've seen the do nothing until mid game when you're just an alt bot, and we've seen the Kianas who take over and dominate the early game from minute 1. But the
Yasuo kill. So the kill pick is, I want to be correct. I think C9 might have played it earlier that day, but Kale has been majorly a Eastern team pick with Korea and Chinese teams mostly playing it, and this was like the first week where the Western team started playing it. And G2, their first read on Griffin was if you play too fast early like we normally did, then we're gonna struggle. So we had to scale versus Griffin, and they had success with that the first time they met. So them going with kind of an outscaling draft again.
It's the Gragas Yasuo bot lane, the G2 Esports Classic. They are going to lock in the Kale as well. You would imagine for now that it is going to go into the mid lane, but there's still a lot of variation left for this G2 roster.
And as much as I think the Kaisa is a fantastic pick, Azaya could also be great as well. I feel like I want to see Viper match with a mage or something crazy because these are the bot laners known for their innovations.
Kaisa.
I'll hold that thought. The Kaisa does get locked in, and that's going to be a fine pick, but difficult up against the Yasuo. has the ulti to get around the win wall, but if you fall behind against this champion, it is a miserable experience.
Yeah, overall though, I think Kaisa and Xayah are strong picks almost regardless of the circumstance, so can't really fault them there. And I want to talk a little bit as we get to the second phase of bans about the Kayle, because I was wondering, since it's a very high presence champion, if a team was going to be willing to go for it.
Syndra ban. Syndra ban here is interesting. If they pick Syndra, it just makes things less complicated by banning out Syndra, but I'm trying to figure out if she has a place to go. Kayle mid. Because Kayle and Yasuo and Syndra, all three of them can't go top lane. I think Yasuo top's pretty bad. I think Kayle top's pretty bad. So I'm not sure if they need a Syndra ban there, because I don't think... I mean, between Kayle, Yasuo, and Syndra, like, they're both fine going bot lane or mid lane, but none of them can go top lane. So I actually don't think the Syndra ban is that needed.
The early game in this matchup is going to be so pivotal. Where is this going to go, and what type of early game pressure is G2 going to have to sack because they picked it?
Well, I like that right now, Griffin, unsure. They spent a lot of time thinking about what they wanted to ban away.
Nautilus.
Not sure of who is going where. It's one of the difficulties that teams around the world have struggled with when going up against G2. I think they should ban the Ryze away now, because expectations are that this Yasuo and Gragas will go into the bot, and Ryze is something that G2 have prioritized throughout the day. They're happy to play it both top and mid. It provides you with a strong early to mid game transition, and it works effectively in a side lane. So I think if they don't take it away, this is
Leo
something
ban.
G2 will go for.
But instead it'll be the Leona ban. More concerned about the Gragas in the
Oh, these
jungle.
bans are so
One on
weird.
the bottom side of the map is Griffin. Don't want to potentially give over the Syndra Leona combo. We've seen how strong it can be in solo queue. Do not want to see it here on the stage, and have to wonder if Griffin are ready for this to go bot lane. Obviously still flexible. You mentioned it already, Vedius. This is the G2 strength. This is the thing that they are known for, is creative drafts and heavy use of
Volley
these
there.
abilities.
What the fuck is this?
Volley bear ban. They want to make sure they have a strong laning 2v2 with the Yasuo and Gragas. There are a couple of supports left available, things like the Thresh they could take into consideration. Morgana is another one. The Black Shield's pretty good at mitigating the knockup.
Shen,
But if you want
that's a
more
Lihan
aggressive
favorite.
bot laner, Lehens is known for his support, Shen.
And the Shen support is something that can work very well against G2. We saw in the finals of the LEC, when Caps was trying to go in for a lot of 1v1 trades, the support Shen would be what turned that around. So not necessarily an amazing pick in terms of dominating the lane, but can be very good in this circumstance.
And now we see the Lee Sin coming out, which
Yep.
confirms the Gragas into the support position. And of course, Mickey, one of the most practiced
Shyvana.
Gragas players in the world, long before it was picked up into the bot lane. Shen trading well into melee champions in the early game if it is.
Well, they actually did pick Ryze. What the hell?
Yeah. Don't opt to ban it away, Vedius, and there it is.
This makes a
They
kill top.
showcase the priority for it throughout the day. It doesn't surprise me that they want to try and grab it. My question is, which lane do they want to try and put it into? Right now, Griffin still hold a lot of cards as well. You don't know where the Kiana or Akali
I think one
is
problem
going.
that comes with
I
Ryze
believe we're
is
expecting
potentially
Kiana
you
to
have
go
two
into the
losing
jungle,
lanes
and
straight
we're
off the
gonna see
bat.
a final lock-in
Kale's a
inside
losing lane
Griffin
for a long time.
and
After level
one of
6,
the
she'll
things
even
really
out, but
other than
earlier on
Solo
she loses a
Chase,
lot
he's
to any of the
known for
champions
his
they could pick.
Chase and his Aatrox. These are the two champions that he played the most throughout the
This is
competitive year.
a little bit
And
too much
it
scaling
looks
from
like
G2.
It's going to be going into his hands.
And I have questions about this one. We talked about how important early game power it is.
I really think they should think about not giving them Akali. I think Chobi Sword are both really good Akali players. I think SKT and Griffin, and even Damwon, actually, wow, all three Korean teams actually share a lot. But all those three teams, like Akali Renekton, is a huge pick that people have to think about and really think about how they're going to deal with. Giving Akali makes the draft so difficult because it's a pick that's incredibly hard to punish. Akali red side is so hard. I don't even know how I would have drafted for G2 to make it better. Let me go turn off the fan while I think. Maybe first pick Akali, that can solve the situation. What would have Griffin done? G2 first picks Akali, Griffin. I mean, I guess people can start pulling out stuff like Rumble, but it is hard whenever people get Akali so easily.
It's clear that Griffin have drafted for early game power. G2 Esports to a certain degree early game power. The Kale, the weak point you pointed out, Chad. And the question is, who gets it? Who has to play the Kale in this matchup and suffer in the early game?
I mean, this could be a game where we're seeing the swaps come in at exactly 20 seconds because Chovy played the Akali earlier on today, even if he's more known as Jace. And you can see G2 is constantly swapping them back and forth.
Is it going to go 20 seconds is the cutoff point? One more swap.
All right, that's it.
Wonder going to play the Kale. Can still swap in-game. Can still go to mid lane if he wants to.
So I tend to like this bet from G2, that Wonder will be able to withstand
put
Sword
my
and
headset back
Tarzan,
on.
because Sword and Tarzan have been ridiculously inconsistent in the early game. Even the very first time these two matched up, they couldn't get in sync for their Renekton Talia gank on Wonder. So
Galio was banned.
putting
You couldn't do
Tarzan's
Galio
attention
into Akali
towards
one.
that top lane, where even if Wonder dies, he'd still outscale, I think is a smart choice by G2.
And G2 on the cusp of a perfect group. Can they do it? We're going to find out. And everyone out there, this is the match that you have been waiting for. LEC
Oh.
and LCK fans.
Like really strong things I do want to talk about. Akali plus Kiana together, guaranteed ganks. That's also really nice. Shen plus Akali later. That's also really nice. And I think Fnatic showed it in the clutch game. Like Shen Akali later, you give Akali stealth. Whenever she uses Shroud, Shen ults, and then Akali pops out with ult with Shen on top of her, and then Shen can taunt whoever the target Akali wants to go on. That's a really powerful combo. So a lot of small synergy that work out really well for Griffin. And another thing is, I love it when Griffin gives Tarzan like champions and setups where the gank is really guaranteed, like the Akali Kiana together, or like the Elise Camille game they played. I love it when Tarzan has those things because he's such a good player in terms of pathing and being smart, but I think his biggest weakness is he only goes for ganks that are guaranteed. And so when he has guaranteed ganks in the early parts of the game and setup that's very easy to pull off, it's really good.
Fans alike, it is G2 versus Griffin, a perfect group on the line for G2. Griffin, or looking to force the tiebreaker, everything for both of these teams.
It's been a hotly debated topic. Who is stronger between G2 and Griffin? Remember that Griffin is the team that finished first at the end of the regular season for 3 splits in a row. They've been in the last 3 LCK finals, but have yet to qualify as the first seed. Whereas G2 are your MSI champions. They are currently hold the title of best team in the world, yet because of the ceiling and potential of Griffin, many people believe that they should and can be better than this G2 squad.
And today they're going up against the 6th man of this crowd, clearly in the favor of G2 Esports. And now we keep our eyes on the early game. Early in the tournament, the story was aggressive level 1s from Griffin, but this time around, it's different. Today,
Things to really check up on: Kiana pathing, Lee pathing. Early game jungling's gonna matter a lot. Griffin has lanes that are, or not Griffin, excuse me. G2 has lanes that can be really vulnerable early, especially Kale top. Oh, Kale top with Klepto. I think Kale mid is a lot easier to survive on because the lane's so much shorter, but Kale top, whenever your wave is fucked, oh my god, it's garbage. Especially pre-6.
For both teams is Kiana will opt for the red buff. A similar story for Gragas on the bottom side.
And a pretty healthy pull by Sword for Tarzan on this red buff. Thinking about the Kiana jungle, it is something that can fall behind if the early game doesn't go well. We saw it from Jankos when Jankos played Kiana jungle against Cloud9 in the first half of the group stage. So a healthy pull, giving him into red and Krugs, trying to get him to level 3 as fast as possible for that first game.
Yeah, you said it perfectly, Jack. We very much expect Kiana to do a full topside clear on the red side so that you get that level 3 mark. You can then look for an early gank if you want.
Rise top mid kill also has problems.
But notice that Jankos as well is actually doing a red into Krugs clear.
I think the biggest problem is G2 can't get winning solo lane matchups. I think that's just the biggest problem. because they took Kale early, and Griffin took Akali early, and Akali naturally beats Kale. And they can't get champions that really beat Akali, so it makes drafting really hard in terms of getting winning solo lane matchups.
Yeah, he's now level 2, and it looks like he's going for an invade. There is a ward on the blue buff though from the side of Griffin, so they will be aware of this still happening, and it means that Tarzan could look for a cross map over on the other side because it's likely he's not going to get here in time.
So this also means that we're going to be seeing a split map, with Griffin splitting towards Sword on the top side and G2 splitting towards Perks and Nikki on the bottom side. Again, it's so much of this, I think, bet that G2 is making that Sword and Tarzan won't be able to snowball against Wonder.
So Cap's just spending all his mana. Sometimes Rises will do this, especially when they start Mana Crystal. So you farm just enough to get tier, and you expend all your mana to make sure you can push.
And look, the pings are coming down on the minimap. Griffin are aware that there is a ward here, and Cap's already roaming up.
Wow, I guess he just pushed to get prio. He's not backing for tier early.
And they aren't able to pull it off.
That was actually a great play by Caps that will not show up in the score sheet. When you split the map like that while invading the blue buff, you're leaving your top laner out to dry, and that was a recognition by Wonder and Caps.
Good call from Jad, like that was a great play from Caps, but now he's going to have to deal with how am I going to lane with such little mana. He's probably going to farm until he can get tier and then recall and reset with TP, but Rise is gated by mana the most in the early lane.
That Caps needed to go there right there to keep Wonder alive. He did. It means Jankos can recover. It means he can actually 3-buff him because he didn't full clear, and G2 pull off the counter jungle and protect their top laner.
This is the second game in a row that multiple members of G2 have looked to disrupt Tarzan's early plays. In the first game they played, it was contesting camps, giving up their lane pressure to do so. Now it's Caps roaming very early just to make sure that Wonder is safe. So eyes on Tarzan, on the Qiyana, very conventionally considered one of the strongest champions on this patch to get something done.
Let's not forget that in the early laning phase, we're expecting Griffin to look to try and play around their solo laners, and you can already see
Here's
the
the problem.
damage that Chovy is doing in this.
Good trade by Chovy, and now Caps is completely Chovy probably going to push another wave in, get the recall to match Caps.
Running out of mana very quickly, obviously against an energy champion.
Cannon wave, so really good wave for Caps to back on, but Chovy just going to perma push.
Early TP tier just to kick things off, help him stay a little bit more powerful in the trades to come.
Yeah, the early lane
Sword actually
for
not
the
building that big of a lead.
Ish Rise is actually
Pretty weird for Sword to be even CS with Kale, wave fully pushing in. Kale isn't even low on HP, she didn't even have to sacrifice HP for farm. I feel like early laning could have been better from Jace.
not that powerful. It's more powerful once he's able to get some points in his ultimate and get a few items under his belt. So expect Chovy to be able to push in a little bit back and forth, especially when he hits level 5.
Mac will not get canceled there. Cap's trying for it, but maybe can force a TP out of Chovy. Chovy should have enough time to get back to lane, but Lahen's waiting, hiding in the brush. Qiyana is already leaving though, and Windwall, of course, can disrupt a lot of what Griffin are looking to do.
So what I like in this early game is the amount of respect that is being showed towards Griffin, because
watch out for the Jankos gank, because Griffin's going to try and shove this in, and Jankos would be here to gank. Tarzan's not there to cover.
Tornado's up. Third stack of the Steel Tempest. He's already burned Windwall. Maybe Perks was hoping to bait them in with that major.
Why does Sword go electrocute on Jace? I actually have no idea. I guess he wants to proc it early.
They're not known for snowballing through a lot of kills. We've talked a lot about it over the last 2 weeks of Worlds, which is this team primarily...
Kale's a champion where she never wants to give that trade though.
Strong mechanical prowess of their laners.
There aren't positive trades that she can get versus Jace, I feel like, so she just would never go for the trade.
Because he's just reset, he's going to be a little bit behind, but...
Here's how I feel like Kale Jace should play out. Kale loses farm, and Jace gets dominance on the lane. And Jace can never get the full trade, but Kale has to give up some CS. But what's happening is Kale staying pretty even on farm with the Jace, not even taking that much trades. Like the HP and the mana situation is pretty even topside. So I have no idea, but I don't think top lane is going that well.
This is how Griffin typically like to play, and what G2 is doing is they're controlling Tarzan. They don't want to allow him to give his laners the control, so they cannot play as aggressively as they often like to do.
Yeah, and I think we don't necessarily have a word for the way Griffin plays in our League of Legends dictionary, because they're low kill, but they're not slow.
Yes.
They apply a lot of pressure through aggressive laning, while Tarzan actually tries to track the enemy jungler. It's getting flipped around on him a little bit here. So Griffin was the best early game team in terms of gold in the LCK, and that was a league that doesn't necessarily contest things early. So I've been fascinated with seeing how it will actually match up against G2 if both teams are playing well. When Griffin tries to apply that pressure, for CS and gold advantage, and then G2 fights back.
Of course, G2, I feel like a lot of common misconceptions around the early game, the mid game, where they come online, where they are strongest around those first items, and they can use pressure advantages to make big plays. So a passive early game feels fine for both these teams. As we get closer to level 6s, closer to first items, though, you expect, I think, just an explosion of action somewhere on the map.
Yeah, scaling is quite an interesting one in this game because I feel like it's quite close between the both teams. Yasuo is a champion that scales very well. The lady,
Even though the game looks like pretty stale, there's a lot of early game things going on. Both sides trying to spot the jungler much as possible. Ryze plus Lee gank's really good on Akali. They always have to watch out for Qiyana, especially the kill, but the kill had her way pushed in the whole time, so I think it's mostly Ryze watching out for the Qiyana.
yeah, but Akali is someone that in a side lane can outduel almost every champion in the game. So it feels like that both teams have options to play the split push, play the team fight, and a lot of this game is going to come down to execution.
I feel like if I had to give a team a scaling advantage, though, it would definitely be G2. Ryze and Kayle can, I think, both eventually reach a 1v1 point where they'll take down the other solo laner.
And that's fair.
So I think that would mean that G2 would be okay having this game stay fairly close based on the team comps, and really based on the fact that Kayle hit 6 against a Jace at even CS.
And that was something we talked about so much in the draft. Who would actually sacrifice an early game to play the Kayle? And so far, there has been no sacrifice. And it feels like, once again, similar to the first time we saw these teams, the pressure is on Sword to get something done, to make something happen, to build a greater advantage in this lane, because he will just eventually get outscaled.
The Kleptomancy paying off for Wonder right now. He's already started to build up a small advantage in the top lane 1 versus 1, playing defensively. Arguably Wonder, one of the weakest performing players of G2 so far in the group stages. A lot of unintentional deaths, a lot of getting caught out of position. Still offering value to his team and not being an ultimate detriment, but often the targeted focus for many of his opposition in the group stages.
It's a similar story to when he played the Vladimir up against Cloud9.
Kayle's just farming so evenly versus Jace.
Be that late game threat, and even if you
That's
punt
gonna
this
be a
early game,
problem.
can be a reliable
Kill hit level 7, never really got challenged.
from Griffin. This is the advantage that Akali built earlier, finally paying off. Chobi's aggressive early lane now allows him to get to this objective a little
Caps had to
faster.
burn TP earlier, Chobi burning TP later, gives him the control for Dragon.
Wants to go in. Yanko's give it away. Is he going to be able to get anything else? Baron, ooh, Dragon getting lower and lower. Ocean
Oof.
Drake will go down. Yankos escapes with his life.
Early
Well
Ocean.
played by Griffin to secure
Dude,
the
early Ocean would have been so good for Kayle too. It's really important Griffin got that.
objective.
Yeah, such patience by both junglers there, actually getting the Dragon to reset as Jankos needed to take that resonating strike to try and get the execute. So really touch and go play there. Actually, the fact that Jankos didn't die should be feel pretty fortunate for him.
Now the bright side for G2 is that both Sword and Chovy just used their teleports. Because Caps and Wonder used them earlier on, theirs will be up and available at an earlier state, which means that they can look to try and make a play elsewhere on the map if they want to. Meanwhile, Griffin, they're going to be feeling pretty comfortable getting that early Ocean. It can offer a lot of value during the lane phase, especially if you're going for a lot of active trades in the early on. So someone like an Akali who's always trying to get into the face of the Rise can gain some additional value off the back of that.
And as well for a Qiyana in the jungle who might take a little bit more damage, no innate sustain in the kit, to be full health every time she's threatening a gank is very solid to have. Especially as we look for level 6s now to start coming
Finally
in.
level 6 on
Obviously, a
Qiyana.
lot of playmaking potential for both the Qiyana and the Lee Sin, and so far, well,
Griffin swapping their bot side top lane. I think 1, it's because Jace wasn't able to really punish the Kayle, and 2, Herald coming up, and also Herald coming up, and I think also a little bit because Jace wasn't really able to punish the Kayle.
there's been a lot of plays, there's been no kills yet.
Now, with the Drake going down, Griffin choosing to swap towards the top side, they want to get ahead of the play, given that Perks and Mickey is sticking around for another wave, but the Rift Herald has not spawned yet. So there's actually plenty of time for G2 to be able to respond. The question is, will they recognize that Lahens is in the top lane and looking for a kill?
Whole team now moving up.
For a while.
Wonder could be in trouble here. Obviously has the ultimate available. The flash taunt is going to connect. Wonder can't just use the ult on himself. He now needs to make it out to safety. His flash not available, but he
Brutal.
flash taunt is going to connect. Wonder can't just use the ult
So
on himself. He now
brutal.
needs
WQ undodgeable. And especially on a champion squishy as Lee, and where most of your survivability comes from being mobile, Qiyana's able to cancel that mobility and they're just able to one-shot her.
Make it out to safety. His flash not available, but he will retreat, using it to get out. His first blood drops and Yankos goes down.
And that was Griffin having the positioning to be able to try 2 plays at once because they had kind of abandoned that bottom lane much
Also,
earlier.
Yasuo incredibly bad at getting turret earlier on compared to other champions. So when Yasuo's left bottom, they don't really care too much about Yasuo getting plates. He's not going to be able to get that much plates, and they're also going to be able to get Herald topside.
And they play around it beautifully. It's a great example of just good fundamental League of Legends. Just understanding where you can move, where you have control, and when the enemy moves into a space that doesn't belong to them, they punish you. And they successfully found a pick onto Jankos, which will now convert into a Rift Tower.
And they've also been able to temporarily avoid the Gragas Yasuo death combo. That's where the lane really turns on, is when both of them hit level 6, they go. But by leaving the lane right before then, Mickey not only is at level 5, but Perks is down bottom without a teleport. So we saw the gank happening top lane. Jankos was just trying to get the Rift Herald, and it's pretty much just a CC lock by Tarzan, catching someone in the river as a level 6 Kiana.
And we were just talking about areas of the map that you can't go. This is a great example of there was no wave pushing in mid, there was no wave there. Caps was forced to play defensive because he doesn't have information. Wonder gets forced back because of the swap top. So Griffin have all the pieces and tools to control the river. Jankos doesn't respect it, he ends up getting killed, which is why when you're playing at the highest level and you make these small mistakes, both of these teams are very good at punishing you, whereas Griffin does it with small picks and vision control. G2 does it by snowballing. And
oh, this game's actually so slow. I'm trying to find things to talk about, but there's like movements being made. I guess we have to look more towards the future. It feels so nice for G2 though. Even though they lost Dragon and Herald, I guess the Herald is going to swing the gold a little bit more. Like, just, as Catcher said, scaling is so much in favor of G2. I think they just need to make it to 2 items pretty safely, and they're in a really good spot.
Where Griffin are going to use this to continue to extend their lead. Plates are still up. We'll offer a bit more gold. Hens waiting in the darkness.
They're looking for a pinch on either Mickey or Perks.
Mickey needs to get out. Perks also needs to get out. The wind wall will not stop the Shenton from connecting. They're focusing the isolated target. They're just going to delete him. Jankos thought he had the angle, thought he could make the play, but did not get a chance to do so. Now it's a TP on the top side, but I feel like this cannot be the right decision.
That one-shot delete on Jankos.
Wonder TPing into enemy lines. G2 may be looking for a play here, but Wonder's just going to...
Like, Lihan did such a good job of waiting there to get the fight started, and like he hid in vision where Jankos didn't know he was there, so he was approaching the site not knowing Lihan was there, and then they got that instant follow-up. Just Griffin is so good at creating these like pockets of vision where you don't know they're there and they get that fight started on you. Instant 4v5. There's just no point to fighting any further. Also, how did Kale die?
But did not get a chance to do so. Now it's a TP on the top side, but I feel like this cannot be the right decision. G2
okay, oh,
he
trolled.
Wonder TPing into enemy lines. G2 may be looking for a play here, but Wonder's just going to drop.
The fight was over. He should have never TP'd.
Meanwhile, Caps is now in trouble. He needs to make it out, but the Shen is coming in. The wind wall might not be enough. Chovy, what else can he get done? The Akali trying to make his way through the fight, trying to finish off these kills. Mickey goes down. Griffin are dominating G2. Chovy looking for the Caps kill. Can he get him? Where's the Shuriken flip? Is going to look to follow. Does manage to contest. The lockdown is there. Caps going to zoom his way out. Jankos now coming in. Can't.
When you drafted like how G2 did, you have to be way more willing to give up certain things. Especially there weren't objectives that they had to fight for so much. So yeah, I'm not sure why G2 are so willing to just walk into Griffin and let them get these kind of engages. Very uncharacteristic game.
But just such a close exchange.
Griffin just
like, pay the respect that they deserve.
They again catch Jankos before anything can happen, kind of stopping G2 from being able to engage. They capitalize on a bizarre teleport from Wonder.
Perk's now in trouble though.
Jankos is there.
Windwall has been burned. They don't find the knockup. Caps is here as well. They're burning so many TPs just to move into this mid lane. They have advantage. They will be able to break one plate, but meanwhile, Kai'Sa's breaking down the top lane, and Viper's going to get further and further ahead.
And it's punish after punish coming out from the side of Griffin. Notice how they've extended their gold lead now to 3,000. This game was dead even. It was neutral. G2 were matching what Griffin were trying to do in the early game, but these small mistakes coming out from G2 were immediately punished from the likes of Griffin, and now they've ballooned this gold difference very heavily in their favor.
And also the Infernal Drake is up in 4 seconds, and Wonder is top lane on a flashless, TP-less Kale, so Griffin's going to get the setup on this Infernal Drake.
Look at the items that have now been completed. Youmuu's Ghostblade is available for Sword. His TP is going to be available soon, but G2 do currently have control over the river.
And Jankos needs to look for a play. He's been the one getting jumped on, but he has Flash, Ult, level 7, and they have Gragas Ultimate. So
really weak timing. Tier, Roa on your mid laner. Akali, no Gunblade, that's at least really good. I guess fighting on a time where Akali, no Gunblade is good, but Tier, Roa, really weak buys. Lethality or Ghostblade on Jace. We'll see.
So G2 would really want to get a kill here before getting Drake.
Moving in.
It's good that they have Griffin split. Sword wants to be on the same side as everyone. Tarzan wants to be on the flank. Sword a little bit out of position.
On the top side to do this, but Griffin are not just going to give it up without a fight.
Kiana ult is up, so G2 has to concede River.
Give me 1 sec for the fan.
Backing off, both teams very clearly focused on this Infernal, but he's going to go in. Jankos knocked back with a thundering blow. Good play from Sword.
That's a lot of damage.
And Jankos actually trolling.
Good play from Sword.
What did you expect when you're taking this ward? Are you gonna kick flash him back and then Mickey X goes in on him?
That's a lot of damage.
Jankos needs to make his way
There's no way he could have done that. Like,
Jungler solo. It feels like Griffin now just get priority on the Infernal.
Jankos overstays trying to clear a ward, Sword chunks him out, and notice again...
Akali has money for Gunblade, that's why Griffin's not fighting here. Waiting for the Gunblade. Yep, she has it. Now they're gonna be so willing to fight. Jay's buying his second lethality.
It's because they apply this type of pressure on you. They force you into these decisions.
Like right now, before G2 can scale up more, Griffin wants to fight for every objective. They're asking G2, are you going to give us this for free? Because we're going to take it for free if you don't come here. You better fight us. This is how you need to play if you're the comp that's getting outscaled. Fight on your item spikes, don't give team space.
Excellent patience from the side of Griffin. They've played around this Drake extremely well. They've conceded nothing. And they're continuing to keep the pressure up.
G2's here.
G2.
Chovy doesn't know they're here.
Now gonna go back. That's all the seasons they need. He goes back. He gets kicked out. A good pick.
Really good kill.
Doesn't make up the gold difference.
Akali just bought Gunblade. It's one of her strongest spikes. Akali just bought Gunblade. She's gonna hit level 11 in about 2 to 3 waves. Like, it's one of her strongest spikes. And they killed her where she's starting to bloom.
The gold gap closes ever so slightly as they find a good shutdown, and now they have their eyes set on the tower.
This is fucking trolling though. They didn't respect Shen'el possibly coming in. Yeah, like 2 melee champion on top of turret versus Jace and also a Shen that can come in.
Sword with the double.
I also think it would have been better if Perks used NATO on Jankos. Perks flashed away. He was like so far deep in creeps and he wasn't even auto attacking from here. If he auto attacked from here and just kept charging NATO hits and then like used NATO to cancel Sword from being able to go on him, because especially Sword doesn't have flash, so he probably couldn't do it. But then again, if he can't hit both Sword and Tarzan can always go on him. Yeah, that's a problem. Either one he stops, the other one goes on him, and then they have the Shen ult. It was just problematic for them to be hitting turret there when Shen can ult in. They just got greedy.
But Griffin want to fight Shen on the way in. Lehens is going to come to this fight. The knockup may stop more, but it's not going to be enough. Kiana cutting through the team. Jace finishing off 2. Sword with the double.
And Griffin absolutely massacre Perks and Jankos as they tried to siege onto the tower. And now it's Griffin sieging. What looked like a bright spark for G2 ends up getting snuffed out by Griffin.
Even though Sword didn't make an advantage known in the early laning phase, he is full lethality powered up now with these 3 kills. I think the question will be for G2 is how well can Caps side lane, keep his farm up, keep that best in group stage KDA alive, and how well Wonder can scale up, because the early game has been all Griffin.
Absolutely has. Incredibly dominant performance. And as we look back at this replay, you can see G2 clean kill, right? Feels good, but as they continue to move forward in this play, it starts to turn against them.
And these teams are so good. I just got to credit there. The W actually by Chovy while the cast was in the air, doesn't matter. And then G2 definitely overstays, not respecting the Shen ultimate. That's definitely a learning, I think, from the LEC finals, and this support Shen pick has generated some good plays.
And in that what's your move replay, clearly the move for G2 was to stay just a little bit too long, and now we see the power of Shen support, something that I'm not used to seeing.
G2 trying to make their own plays.
And so far it is working out nicely for Griffin.
No Shen ult for a bit.
I believe,
and Griffin just recognizing that all of G2 is on top side. Jace can push and waiting on Shen ult. Tarzan jungling like he knows G2 is top side, not jungling on top of the golems and jungling away.
Here we will be forced into a tiebreaker game, so they will have to play again in order to fight for first place in this group.
League of Legends,
because G2 will have
in a sense, is a turn-based game.
Also have side select
like you get a turn to be aggressive and the enemy team gets a turn to be aggressive, Griffin is incredibly good about recognizing when it's their turn and when it's other people's turn. And when it's other people's turn, Griffin doesn't give people openings, and when it's their turn, they go ham.
You have to wonder, they have to come back. They've got the scaling. For now, they've got the time, but Griffin continuing to push forward in this map, lay down more vision, push into G2 territory, and it's going to get harder and harder for G2 to play until they get a few more items under their belts.
So one of the notes I wrote down before coming into this game was Lahens versus Mickey. Something that I've praised Mickey a lot for is his roaming and ability to have impact outside of just the laning phase, but especially in the second half of groups, we've been seeing a lot more of that from the Griffin support and Lahens. And with a Shen ultimate, it's naturally a lot easier to impact the rest of the map. But notice how a lot more resources have been funneled into Perk, so he's level 10, but Lahens is the same level at being level 9 as his AD carry, who just now picked over to 10. But he has a big experience advantage and item advantage over his support counterpart, which means he
Griffin's just very solidly building their lead without giving G2 chances.
On this Gragas, while he's
The only real big mistake that came was Akali going bot side when she had Gunblade and then getting instantly blown up. Other than that, they're so good about not giving G2 any kind of openings.
Body block that body slam. He will find himself going down very quickly as Tarzan using the grass blade to sneak his way out of that brush and out of that situation as G2 start to move towards the top side.
The ability for Griffin to force a fight, though, is so potent with Tarzan. Look at the flank.
Oh, it's going to come into the wall. That's going to be a double no.
Oh, God. Let's let this fight finish and I'll talk.
On the retreat, but Chovy's going to bring a Shen right in the middle of the team. That's the double taunt. Chovy going to look to finish off the kill. Goes back in with the shuriken flip. And Griffin again.
Do you guys see like the switch flipping for Griffin? Like Griffin is so good about, it's our turn to go. Go, 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 go. Everyone get on the same page. We're going to fight right now. Let's collapse here. We are the stronger team. Let's punish them. They're just so good about turning on that switch. They don't like them contesting Rift, or not Rift, excuse me, Scuttle. Everyone's grouping in. They know they're going to have to walk into jungle. It's going to be good for Qiyana. People have their item power spikes. Everyone has flashes up. Shen has their ult up. Like, they're just so willing to go ham here because they know it is their turn.
For Griffin to force a fight, though, is so potent with Tarzan. Look at the flank.
Oh, it's going to come into the wall. That's going to be a double no.
Forces the flash. Fight starting off on Mickey. As we talked about, shrouded Akali getting the Shen ult. So good.
And Griffin again finding a fight in their favor.
G2 actually nearly escaped that one, even though the initiation looked so good from Griffin. But now Griffin has the kills. They push G2 all the way out of the mid jungle, and they can take even more control over the central part of this map.
We're seeing the power of Qiyana once again as well. The moment G2 gets spotted, they get engaged on, and now G2 are looking for something back, but Chovy's just going to immediately disengage, and Griffin are just playing so clean so far in this game. Good draft, easy setup for their solo laners, and here we see G2 trying to get some river control, but it was Griffin who had mid priority.
But also, we shouldn't forget that it's much easier to play as a team that it's winning and having 3 hard snowballing champions fed. It's easier to pull decisions like that? No. It's never... I think it's very false to say it's easier to play a snowballing comp. Snowballing comp, you can make a lot of unforced error trying to snowball needlessly. If playing snowball comp was easier, why would people pick stuff like Kayle? Why does G2 pick stuff like Rides? It's just not flat out easier to play a snowballing comp. It tests a different kind of skill, but it's just way too simplistic to say, oh, snowball comp good, playing to win easy.
That could just be Baron for G2.
Also, another really crucial thing for Griffin that was highlighted a lot back in spring and summer is their stopwatch usage. They identify timings extremely well, and they buy stopwatch on really good timings, and they use stopwatch really well in team fights. And it's a lot of times the difference maker in a team fight.
Now at level 11 to kind of get that next big transform. No reason to think that's going to happen, though, based on how well Griffin has played these first 20 minutes.
And you can see 1.5 items coming in for the Kayle, but you already have double lethality items completed for Sword on the top side, and no one's building armor on this team. You might see a Zanya's later in the game, maybe a GA coming in from Perks, but no one is tanky enough to really support building multiple armor items to deal with this early lethality.
So now the Baron setup will start for Griffin. 3 Drakes in their pocket. river control with Kiana, who just hit level 11 to make that ultimate even more powerful. And this is where G2 will really be tested here. After rolling through the first 5 games of this group stage, the kind of clear-cut group, making this a fight between G2 and Griffin. 5,000 gold down, 3 Drakes down. They would need some exceptional team play to come back in this one.
And you can see how cautiously they are moving into the river. Do not want to give anything up. Vision very defensive from Griffin around that Baron, but it will make sure that G2 can't go for anything sneaky, anything crazy as a desperate attempt to get back. On the bottom side, Wonder doing what he can to hold on for now. As long as he has that ult up and available, he's not really threatened for the dive, but can't afford to use that cooldown or could find himself very much at risk against Chovy's Akali.
Chovy's a little overextended right now. He doesn't necessarily have to reset, but he does have to be careful because the rest of his team did just go back to base to pick up a lot more wards. You can see Griffin immediately use this small window to move into the river. They have no one pushing up mid lane right now, but G2 probably don't feel super comfortable just face checking into this part of the map. Especially with
Griffin flashes on all 5 people, ults ready to go, stopwatches, they're very ready to fight if something comes up.
Looking to gain information.
Redemption Shen.
Yeah, and I think G2 will
What would you even buy on Shen normally? Nice foul?
Flash, because the real
Trying to
way
think.
they can find a team fight is if they can get an initiation onto a sword or a Viper at the start of the fight.
Goes stepping forward, Sonic Wave. Low connect is
could
going
be
to go in. The kick
Going in, Shen ult coming in right away, TP coming in right away. On top of that, if I remember, Thord has stopwatch. They're just so ready. And even though it looks like G2's making a good play, like they're just walking right into what Griffin wants. Yep, stopwatch, Shen ult, Kiana ult, Akali flash, Akali TPing behind. I'm not sure if G2 knew, but this fight was lost before it even started. Griffin was just so well set up to win this fight.
He's running down Sword. The Realm Warp is coming out. Viper can look for the turn. Sword is now stepping back into his team. They can't finish the kill. The heal is
This wasn't about how G2 executed it. It was about Griffin's setup, and they're just walking into excellent setup from Griffin.
Viper has ult. If he can get Plasma, he might look to ult in.
There's no taunt flash there. Wonder has to be the sacrificial lamb. Only Caps is going to be able to escape. Griffin, what else can they get? Chovy goes over the wall. The movement speed coming in from the Shroud. The taunt locks him down. Caps in trouble. Caps is going to go down. Griffin dominate the fight.
So they get a bunch of kills off of that one, but the silver
Goddamn.
lining for G2 would be the Baron is at least delayed. All 5 members of G2 died just for Tarzan, but now Griffin wants to keep the pressure up. They're resetting and going straight for this Baron. Controller down, they cleared the vision. Jankos would need to steal.
3 members of G2 running in against the 5 stacked up against Griffin. Should be impossible odds. There's no way from blue side that they can make their way into this pit comfortably. Mickey on the Gragas. But Jankos not going to get there in time. Griffin taking the Baron.
And Griffin have accelerated this game as G2 have attempted to fight back. Something...
So like G2's trying to fight when it's not really their turn. They're trying to create something where it's extremely hard to create something. Griffin has all the defensive tools. They have TP up, they have Shen ult up. It's just... They can't get into that scaling. They can't get to the point where Kayle and Rise out scale. And they know Baron's coming up too fast, so they have to try to accelerate. So they took a chance, but it just wasn't happening.
Many LCK teams did not do towards Griffin, but watching this one more time, you can see Jankos knew they had to get a fight onto Sword, but he can't quite get behind him. It buys some time, and then the fact that Sword had the stopwatch just does buy enough time for the immediate redemption to come.
It was not your turn. Wow, this is actually such a great game. And if I ever wanted to explain to someone what turns mean in League of Legends.
And Griffin's reaction speed to that fight was just unbelievable. This team has showcased such a difference from week 1 to week 2, and questions were asked, is this the level of performance that they would be able to demonstrate against G2? And I mean, the evidence speaks for itself. This has been a very clean game from Griffin start to finish.
G2, that dream of a perfect group stage is starting to slip away. The biggest deficit they came back from domestically Hold that thought for a brief moment. 5.8k up against Fnatic. This is much bigger than that.
And now Griffin with the Baron buff is trying to get multiple ways.
Oh,
Catch Mickey
can't go anywhere.
or going for a flank. This is the thing. G2 always tries to fight back, and Griffin is stopping them with flank wards every time G2 tries to go for it.
Exactly that, Jat. G2 is a team that will try to fight their way back into the
Now stopwatches on the other 3 people. Items also ahead. If you try to take a fight, it's going to be really hard.
game.
Look, they're defending.
If Griffin gets their way, G2 will not get a single additional turn to get the game back into their hands for the rest of the game.
The inner tier 2.
They're going in. Kiana
That Tarzaning days. Knock back 2 people into stun.
You have to feel like Griffin are going to break the base right here.
G2 is in no right to defend that turret. They had to concede before that. They allowed Griffin to be able to flank around. That's now 30-second death timers on Caps and Perks. It is at least 2 inhibitors for Griffin.
12k gold lead. Baron minions crashing on the bottom side. One more fight in the favor of Griffin, and they will end the game. It is only 3 members of G2 holding on here.
We can call this game Yenko's playing bad. Yes, Yenkos did play not ideally, but the things that Lehand and Tarzan did punish Yenkos in a way he hasn't really gotten punished before.
This is what many LCK fans wanted to see. This was the group stage style of play that you see from Griffin. And Jay and I talked a lot about it this game, where their style is, we don't really have a name for how they approach the game, but what you can say is that it is smooth, it is difficult to deal with if they get ahead, and whenever you make the tiniest mistake, they punish.
I was just saying Griffin this game didn't make anything that special besides their early game, which was very good. But mid to late game, decision making was not hard to make when you have all your top side members fed versus hard scaling champ. No, not at all. Griffin plays incredibly disciplined. It's so rare to see players play this disciplined when they're ahead. A lot of times, players will play a lot looser as they get ahead, but not Griffin.
Of course, 3 items for the KO might be nice, 3 items for the Rise could be good, the Yasuo as well, but realistically, Griffin just have absolute control of this map with 2 inhibitors down.
Yeah, Wonder would want 2 more levels to hit level 16, but it is looking very Griffin favored. Remember, if Griffin close out this game, that will force a tiebreaker.
How many times do we talk about throws? How many times do we talk about people getting caught? It's not easy to play that discipline once you get ahead.
Because of average win time throughout the group, would also have side select in said tiebreaker. So Griffin trying to end this one out and then move on to the next game.
A long day for both lineups to move into that tiebreaker. And it's easy to say, hey, they've already made it out. Seeding doesn't mean anything. But obviously, when you look at the difference in teams, it could be a difference, and that's going to be it. The K-Log comes out, but it might be a little bit too early. They're going to save Yankos, but what is it going to cost them? As Toby's in the backline, Lehans is going to be hand-delivered right into the face of Wonder, and he's got no ult to protect himself. But still, Griffin, Viper, diving in, and that's all it's going to take. Caps tries to run for the hills, but the plasma stacks.
So would you be willing to bet money that if G2, IG, SKT were playing on Griffin's side, the game wouldn't have a similar icon? When did I say it's not easy to win once you get ahead? It's not the outcome, it's the process of how they give so little opportunities. I'm willing to bet if G2, IG, or SKT played, they would have given way more opportunities than Griffin did. Incredible clean play for Griffin. They had like, I would only say like one mistake, like Akali getting caught out boss side. Other than that, it's incredibly hard to point out mistakes from Griffin's side. Really well done. Can't wait for game 2.